Well, hello there. I am back. And yes, this is very soon, but here we are. Just another quick little video about Glitterandlazers that she put up. She's showing us her weight belt finally on. So let's watch this video. And I'm going to pause it and show a few screenshots and we'll go from there. Okay, so belt's on. In my opinion, way too high. Okay, let's pause here. Weightlifting belts. A lot of people wear them in a lot of different ways. There's a high belt position, which she's clearly, she's got it way up there. There's middle and then there's low. It's based on your anatomy, really. A lot of people with bigger stomachs tend to wear them a lot lower, like right at the top of their hips to kind of run under that belly portion and kind of support the lower back the best it can. But in my opinion, and what I've heard from lots of people who wear weightlifting belts, is that the weightlifting belt usually sits just at the top of the hips, like where the hip bones stop, okay, right at the top of the hips, beneath the bottom rib, okay, the lower section of the ribs. You're probably going to get the bottom in there or close to it. And then across the natural waist or the navel is where the belt should hit you. Why? Because we want to protect our lower back. This being the lumbar part of our spine. Let's check out what the spine looks like. This is your spine. Cervical up by your neck, thoracic is the upper, lumbar is the lower, sacral is down, by your booty. The lumbar is what we're trying to protect because the lumbar is notoriously weak. It takes the biggest beating, really. So your navel, if you look at the lumbar, most people's navel is straight out from like the L3, L4 to L5, somewhere in that region. But of course, people have fat and you can have a sagging navel or, somewhere in there. So we want to be just above the hip bone, but under the ribs. We don't want to cinch our ribs because then we can't breathe. So let's take a look at Glitter. All right, how do we find Glitter's hip bone? Well, if you see when she's doing this deadlift, see the point where this is where she's the furthest out, like her hips have hinged back and then she's going to go up in this lift. So the half circle that her belly makes, the very tip of both of those, that's where her hips are. So if we drew a line from there to there, from each top of that U that her belly makes, that is where the top of her hips are, basically, or just above that point, right? That's where she hinges. So we know that the top of her hips is somewhere in that area. That puts the top of her hips below her pink shirt. Now, let's look at the belt on again. This is the belt on. This belt is just under her boobs. This is completely wrapped around her rib cage. You cannot tell me otherwise. I know her ribs are not under her boobs. Of course there are ribs under her boobs, but it's not just under her boobs. The ribs go further down than that, okay? Because we know the ribs protect the lungs, the heart, everything in our chest cavity. So this belt is essentially at her ribs. It's probably covering at least a couple. There's no way that this is empty space that it's covering. And her navel, I would bet, is at the very bottom or middle of where that shirt is flapping down. Her hips are just at like the mid of the pocket. So this belt needs to be bigger. It needs to go down a lot more. And if that's really uncomfortable for her, maybe we don't wear a belt yet. Because a belt isn't even useful unless you know how to truly control your abs and brace your abs to help protect your back. A belt is not going to do that for you. You still have to know how to use it. So also I want to look at the bar placement. We need to figure out what's going on here because we are not equal at all. Not everyone is perfectly equal, but this is a large gap. Her left, I believe, if we flip, right, her left or our right side. So if you look at this photo, her right, way lower than her left. Is she leaning that way? Is she favoring that? Is that the bad knee? Is that the bad hip? Maybe a visit to a chiro. I know a lot of people, not everybody believes in a chiro, but something's off. Either there's an issue with her tailbone, her pelvis, something is off. We need an adjustment, or we need to teach this woman some stretches to fix this issue. Or we need to address this issue because she's way off. Let's also go back to her actual movement. All right, here we are in the actual video. I'm going to try to go frame by frame, so it might be hard. Okay, so it's very quick. So she comes up. Okay. Now, when she goes down, see how her knees really go out like almost bow-legged looking? We're doing too much weight. We just, I just know that really bowed, and then you can tell that she's yanking with her upper and then driving through her legs. And see, like that belt ain't doing shit. That belt is is covering her ribs and lifting up her boobs. This belt is not on correctly. And I mean, maybe her coach has some reason. Maybe there's some reason, like she's super weak in her mid back and we just need some protection there. But no. Just no. Let's see. Can I do this while all right, I can do this. So her hip, hopefully you guys can see this. That's about her hip. Okay, let's change the color. Let's go to red. The red is where I think this belt should be. Just about there. The middle of the belt should hit right about there. And again, who am I, right? Just my opinion. Anyway, if you disagree with me, please tell me why. I don't know everything, right? No one knows everything. If you have a better suggestion on how a belt should work and where to place it and how to put it on, I just know there's an upper, there's a mid, there's low. People like it in different ways. People with bigger bellies tend to go low so it doesn't pinch them. We don't want to be constricting the ribs. We also don't want to be over the hips because that's not helping anything. It needs to be in a good spot where it's really protecting that low back, not the upper back, the low back. So anyway, tell me your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Editing Lindsay here. I put my weight belt on and I measured from the top of my belt to just at my under boob where she's wearing that belt. And I have almost 2.5 to 3 inches of space. And I'm 5'8.5". Probably 5'9" in the morning before I shrink, according to Glitter and Lasers. Anyway, bye guys.